One of the great mysteries in Star Wars is how the Jedi become Force ghosts after they die. What happens to their identities? How do they train for this? How did Yoda actually learn to become a Force ghost? Near the end of the Clone Wars, Qui-Gon, who had been dead for over 10 years, reaches out through the Force to Yoda during a meditation session. Yoda is a bit unsure about this connection to Qui-Gon because the dark side has been clouding everything throughout the war, so he feels he may be being deceived. He even goes so far as to run medical tests and even sensory deprivation therapy to see if something else is affecting his mind and body. As he starts to go into a deep meditative state inside the sensory deprivation tank, Qui-Gon reaches out through the Force again, telling him that this is not the way, that instead he must go to Degobah alone, tell no one, and that the answers he seeks are there. Yoda travels to Degobah with R2-D2, which means that when R2-D2 goes with Luke to Degobah in The Empire Strikes Back, that it's not the first time that this little droid has been there. Now, for those of you who don't know what is so special about Degobah, it's one of the purest planets in the galaxy, and it has an extremely strong energy in the Force. There's no civilization of any kind, nothing but trees and the creatures of the swamp. Now, Qui-Gon leads Yoda through the swamp and reveals to him that there are actually two parts to the Force. There's the energy produced by all living things, generating the living Force, but then this, in turn, powers the wellspring that is the cosmic Force. All living energy from the living Force, from all things that have ever lived, feeds into the cosmic Force, binding everything together and then communicating to us through the midi-chlorians, which is how he can communicate with Yoda now. This right here is completely different than what the Jedi had thought they'd known about the Force. Qui-Gon then tells Yoda that he cannot actually show himself because his training was incomplete. He died on Naboo before he could finish, so he's able to communicate but not actually become a Force ghost that can be seen at this point. Yoda is led by Qui-Gon into the cave that we see Luke go into in The Empire Strikes Back. Inside, Yoda has visions of Order 66, of Jedi dying, and a cloaked Darth Sidious. He makes it out, and Qui-Gon tells Yoda that he has been chosen, just as Qui-Gon was chosen before him, to learn to preserve his life force and to manifest his consciousness to the living, to be able to communicate with them after death. This point is as far as Qui-Gon can guide him for now, so he bids farewell to Yoda, and then the Force then guides Yoda to a mystic planet. He lets the Force lead him inside the planet where he can sense life emitting from the core. He meets these 5 priestesses. They're the embodiment of the Force. They tell him that he's late and that they've been watching him. Now here they say something that's really interesting. One of the beings asks the other one, why is it Yoda that was chosen? In response, they tell Yoda that his destiny has already been written, that Yoda will teach the one who will save the universe from the great imbalance. Now to me, I think this is actually referring to Luke, not Anakin. Anakin was to bring balance to the Force, but instead left it in darkness, creating a great imbalance. Luke is the one who turns his father back from the dark side, killing Darth Sidious and restoring balance. I find this fascinating that they reveal this to Yoda at this time. Now Yoda is still pretty confused at what's going on or what's even required of him at this point, but they determine that Yoda has come to them with a pure heart and that he is worthy, so they all agree that his training can begin. As Yoda and one of these priestesses, called the Wills, explain to Yoda that this mystical planet is the foundation of life, the birthplace of the midi-chlorians, and where the living Force connects with the cosmic Force. Now, in order for Yoda to be able to preserve his identity after death, he must know himself, his true self, and to let go. He must conquer all of his fear before the journey can begin. He must free himself. Here, Yoda is like, I'm a Jedi Master. I know this stuff. I've conquered my fears on my journey as a Jedi. I know this already. The priestess guiding him is like, oh, you think so, huh? So she points to this island mountain and says, go face your evil. Inside the island, Yoda meets a demonic being that looks exactly like him. It taunts him and it says,
Yoda, please, not with me anymore.
Now Yoda realizes this is his dark side that he faces. He tells his dark side, I do not recognize you. But then his dark side says something extremely powerful and meaningful. He asks Yoda why he doesn't recognize what's already inside him, and that Yoda spends his days in the decadence of war, and with that, the dark side grows inside him. Yoda should know his true self, and face it now. This battle that ensues really symbolizes Yoda's internal battle with his own dark side. He must acknowledge that his thoughts, his actions, and his involvement in the war is causing a darkness to grow more powerful inside him. Finally, Yoda starts to recognize his dark side, acknowledges that it is a part of him and that it does not control him, but he controls it. And with that, he passes his first test. His next test, he must go into a place called the Valley of Extinction. He's instructed by the wills that he must pass through without feeling or without emotion. He finds in the valley a few different visions of alternate realities, from dead younglings and a dying Ahsoka in the Jedi Temple, to a gathering outside the temple where Master Qui-Gon, Jedi Master Count Dooku, and all of his former Padawans enjoy a life without war. All of this is a test designed to bring out emotions in him. Fortunately, he's able to pull himself out of these visions, knowing that they aren't real. He wakes up to face again these 5 wills, where he's given his final trial. He must travel to the Sith world of Moraband and face the ultimate test. Now, for those of you who have read the Legends books, Moraband is the new current name for the ancient Sith world of Korriban. Now, Yoda goes to a Sith temple on Moraband and visits Darth Bane's burial temple in the Valley of the Dark Lords. Yoda enters the temple and finds Darth Bane's burial place. He awakens the spirit of Bane, and Bane reveals a bit of knowledge about the ancient Sith and how they have killed each other. They were victims of their own greed, but from the ashes of destruction, he was the sole survivor, and he chose to pass his knowledge to only one, therefore creating the rule of 2 that would last 1,000 years. I'm working on a special video that goes into the life of Darth Bane and how he created the rule of 2, so make sure to hit subscribe so you'll be able to see when that video is released. So here's where Yoda learns how the Sith have survived since Bane. Instead of building another Sith army for battle, they stayed hidden and used a more conniving manipulation and political scheming to undermine the Jedi. This is a big revelation for Yoda. He then uses the Force to banish Bane back into his sarcophagus and enters an underground lair. Inside the lair, the 5 wills are waiting for Yoda, and they tell him that he must continue through this door, but through the door, they have no control over what happens. On the other side, the Sith of his time are waiting, but they do not know what exactly Yoda will find. Inside the room, Yoda starts to hallucinate, becoming disoriented and loses his grip on reality. He wakes up inside of a transport with some clone troopers and Anakin Skywalker awaiting orders. Yoda is confused, he's disoriented, he's not sure what's actually happening or where he is. Was that a dream? Or is he in a dream now? Anakin tells him that they are in the industrial sector on Coruscant, and that they've intercepted a transmission that Dooku was meeting his Sith master somewhere on Coruscant. Yoda doesn't remember how he got into that transport, only that the dark side is clouding everything and that he can feel the power of the Sith. Yoda, Anakin, and the clone troopers find Sidious and Dooku, but Sidious escapes out the back door. Anakin is in a lightsaber battle with Dooku, and they end up in a very familiar position. Yoda tries to stop Anakin, but Anakin kills Dooku with a double lightsaber, just as we see in Revenge of the Sith. Yoda catches up to Sidious, where they battle. Anakin joins the fight and is almost killed. Yoda and Sidious are locked in battle, then tumble from a walkway. They're falling together. While Yoda's trying to remove the hood of Sidious, he wants to really see his true identity. All of a sudden, Sidious just disappears. Yoda wakes up, realizing he was still inside the temple and that the battle was just a dream. Yoda has officially passed his trials. From here, the priestess tells him that Qui-Gon will be the one to guide him through the Force to maintain his consciousness after death. Now, I did quite a bit of digging to see if there was anything actually written about what they do when they become a Force ghost. Now, what is believed to happen after death, in order to maintain one's consciousness, they must separate themselves from being one with the Force and then reinsert themselves back into a timeline. This is where they start to remember who they are and then can manifest themselves to other living beings. This is the information we have so far as to what it takes to become a Force ghost, and it does leave a lot of questions on how the entire process actually works. If you guys want to see more from me, click this video here and I'll see you over there. Thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you.